Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the DBA Fundamentals virtual chapter. We are a member of PAST, and we are presenting today. We are with Matt Cushing, and we're going to be talking. He is going to be talking about Networking 101, getting ready for a SQL event. The timing is perfect. It's right before PAST. He has some wonderful information in here. And just before he gets started, I have a few things to go over. A lot of information on this title slide. That's kind of why I hang out and talk about it right here at the beginning. All of the organizers for the group, all of our Twitter handles are up there, and all of our content information for the group. So Steve and Shane, Warwick, Kevin, and myself, Glenda, all of our Twitter handles are there if you need to get a hold of any one of us. We also have at DBA Fun as the Twitter handle for the entire group, and we all see that. You can go online and get to us at dbafun.org and look at all of our upcoming and past sessions and see, sign up for what's coming up and things like that. All of our content for the last, 3 or 4 years is also available on YouTube. You can go to the SQL Pass YouTube channel. It has everything from all of the virtual groups. So it's all together for you. It's youtube.com/user/SQLPassTV. You can also join us on Slack. We have our own DBA Fundamentals chapter channel, and there's a whole lot of other channels too. So it is a wonderful resource to network and learn about networking in the session here, but it's a wonderful tool for that, as well as our LinkedIn group. So linkedin.com/groups, and then the whole bunch of numbers right there. We do have a couple of sponsors, and they're the ones that really, really help drive all of this content to you. Without them, we wouldn't be able to give all of the giveaways and all of the fun stuff. So we're going to go through them real quick. Our main sponsor is SentryOne. They actually have quite a bit of tools, and you can test them out for free online. Get a lot of performance type of query tuning advice online for free, as well as many other resources. So you can check out their articles, their blog, and they have one web page that just has a whole bunch of links for resources. And that's why we didn't list all of them in here. In fact, they wouldn't even actually all fit. So centuryone.com/resources gives you a lot of stuff to look at. Make sure you go on, check out their free trials. And also, you can download their free Plan Explorer. I personally use it. It's a plugin for Management Studio. It gives you it's slightly different, some more improvements to the view for the query plans and such. It's phenomenal. Our second sponsor is DBWatch, and they actually have a full, complete solution for database administration, monitoring, performance tuning, security, and license management. It's complete and scalable solution for not just SQL Server, but other platforms as well. Again, they also have helpful articles with the blog and such like that, and you can download their stuff online as well. We are a member of PASS, and as a virtual group, we also want to give you the information about the other virtual groups out there as well. Anything you can think of, there's probably going to be a virtual group. There's PowerShell, performance, virtualization, data architecture, business intelligence, cloud, different languages. Oh my goodness, it's a phenomenal thing. I think I've said phenomenal twice now. I'm just in a really good mood. But each of them, just like we're having a session today, each of those groups will also have their sessions. Sometimes once a month, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little less. It kind of depends on the group. So check them out, and you can get free content from them as well. Another really, really great event to look at are SQL Saturdays. I know we're going to talk about the PASS Summit in just a minute, but SQL Saturdays are like a mini PASS Summit. You have users in the community who do speaking, all for free. You can network. So all of the things that he's going to be talking about today about networking within events works really, really well for SQL Saturdays. I still remember mine. I met some awesome people, and I actually started speaking because of the people I met. So it's been great. There are some that are listed here that are coming up, but they are throughout the entire year. So just look at SQLSaturday.com, and that will give you a whole list of everything. All right, so Past Summit is coming up November 5th through 8th, and that's why this session is just perfect timing. It's right before Past Summit. You can go ahead and use our discount code to get $150 off the full price. Also, in all of the attendees, all of you guys, from this session and last session, we will be picking one of you to actually attend Past for free. So make sure you're checking your emails after this. I know, right? It's awesome. From all the people who use our discount code, we end up with a free one that we get to give, turn around and give away right back to the community. So again, you can go ahead and use our discount code to save money, as well as we will be having a contest using the attendees from today and our last session to give away a free session, a free pass into Past Summit. So. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. Presenter.
Okay. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is, as we talked about, it's Networking 101, getting ready for a SQL event. And this is really geared towards a live audience. So there may be some things like there are a couple questions on me here where I say, hey, show of hands. Well, obviously, it's a little bit harder to do, but I'm going to go through a lot of the things that I have learned going to different events, whether it's a local group, a user group that is really just here and I'm in New Jersey, or a virtual group, or SQL Saturday, or even Past Summit. And I started wanting to put this session together a while ago, and a couple people in at one of the events were goading me on, so I went ahead and did it. So before we get started, a little bit about me. First of all, my allergies are going crazy, so if I cough a little bit, I apologize now. I'm a business intelligence developer for Applegate Farms, which is here in New Jersey. We make sausage and bacon and a lot of other really good stuff. I love working here. It's not a job. It's one of those things where I can go in and just really work with awesome people. I'm also a part-time lecturer. I teach a database class at Rutgers University. Here's my email, and I'll have this stuff up at the end. My Twitter handle, my blog, and my LinkedIn profile. I'll have this stuff up at the end, but this is really just kind of to get an idea of, who is speaking, who's giving this, this particular session. One of the things that I'd like at the end, if you send it to me or send it to Glinda or anybody, any kind of feedback. What did you like? What did what didn't make sense? What, could be clearer? What, maybe you couldn't see or something like that. If you can just give any kind of feedback, I like to pay back into the community by making this session, by changing this session every single time I give it. I've given this this is my sixth presentation, and each time I tweak it a little bit. I got some really great feedback a couple of sessions ago, made those changes, and the presentation moved a little bit smoother. So if you do have feedback, I'm definitely interested in seeing it. So why are we here? We're going to talk about tools that you can use, tricks that you can remember, things that you can do, not only before an event, during the event, but also after the event. Really, how do I get the most out of my time at a particular event? And we'll talk about the different kinds of events and things like that. We'll also talk about different channels of communication that you can use to get ready for and communicate and kind of plan and do things like that. So there's Slack, Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook. Again, like I said, with the feedback, if you find that there is a communication tool, like you're on Stack Overflow or you're on something else, and you can get a message across and it works for you, just let me know, because I'll definitely take a look. So again, can't really do a show of hands. So one of the things that let me just pop through this. So obviously, being part of a virtual group, my assumption is that you're understanding what PASS is, but just, PASS for the most part, in my research and my point of view, it's a not-for-profit organization run by, for a diverse community. It supports the data professionals throughout the world who use the Microsoft platform, and it's multifaceted in its approach to learning and networking. And this is one of the things that I really got a lot out of. I didn't realize that there were virtual groups. I didn't realize that there were, a lot more things that were available for me to take and enhance and make myself a better, a better employee and a better, human being and things like that. So Pass has really helped me out. So what does pass.org offer? Pass offers conferences, they offer online events, both local and regional, and they offer so many different things. They offer, in-person events, there's virtual groups, there's, I think we just had 24 hours of Pass, which is just a marathon. There's so many different things, and it's like I feel like I'm scratching the surface, and then I turn around and there's 10 other things that they're doing. It's just a really wonderful organization that does a lot for the community. So why did I put this session together? I went to my first conference, my first technical conference in 2007, and it was the Microsoft BI conference. And I think they did one more, maybe like a few years later, maybe in 2008 or 2009. But I went to Seattle. I'd never been to Seattle before, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't really sure what was going on. Um, I didn't know anybody. I was the only one from my company. I had seen an ad in either a magazine or I'd gotten an email about it or something, and I just started getting excited about it, but I didn't know what to do. So I had the schedule. I looked, I signed up for signed up for the sessions that I wanted to go to, and I got there and I kind of walked around a little lost. Why are these companies here? Why are these vendors here? Who are all these people? And it was, thousands of people. It was really overwhelming for me. So I didn't feel like I got as much out of it as I wanted to. I understood and I got the technical knowledge that I wanted, but I felt like there was something missing. I felt like there was so much more. So fast forward 10 years, each company I worked for, I tried to get them to send me to Summit, because it's not cheap. I mean, let's be real. Um, so I started at Applegate and I presented the idea to my boss. And one of the cool things that they have on the Past Summit page is how to convince your boss. I mean, it's literally a Word document that outlines all the things that you'll get, all the really good opportunities that you'll have, and it'll it's just really well set up. So I went to Pass Summit, and I was lucky enough to be able to also do the pre-cons, which are the sessions that are the all-day sessions that are on Monday and Tuesday. So the conference is 3 days. It's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but on Monday and Tuesday they have pre-conference sessions. So if you're thinking about going and you can and you have the wherewithal to get your company to support you doing the pre-cons, I definitely recommend them because they're all day sessions. They're, very, very deep dive. They're very immersive and they're just wonderful things. But I went there a little bit more knowledgeable. I had some people that I was talking to on Twitter. I knew a bunch of people that I had worked with at my old company that had been to a couple of these. So I talked to them, got some information, and I went to my first Pass Summit. Whoops, sorry, I hit the wrong thing. And this session, when I got there, really it all started with a tweet. Hold on, I keep hitting the wrong thing. Sorry. It all started with a tweet. So if you can see, I have a sweatshirt on, and on the bottom right corner you can see a little red thing. That's the Applegate logo. Well, on the back is a big old red apple. It's a big red apple with an arrow through it, and that's the Applegate logo. And so I was trying to meet somebody for lunch on Tuesday, which was the second pre-conference day. And so I took a picture of the back of my jacket and I tweeted it to the guy, and I just said, "Hey Matt, his name is Matt Gordon." I was like, "Hey Matt, do me a favor, meet me in front. I'll be waiting out. Just look for a big guy, brown sweatshirt, big Applegate logo." And Katrin walked up, and Katrin I've been following forever, and I'm in awe of her because she's amazing. But she came out, she's like, "Wait, you're Matt." And so we just started talking, and she's like, "Oh, I saw your tweet," and she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." And we started talking, and as we were standing there talking, other people came up and we started talking to, I met a lot of people who I'd been talking to online over Twitter. I got a chance to meet them in person, and it was wonderful. So I started putting together a session because I started taking pictures and I started tweeting all the pictures and I started meeting a lot of people that I had met on, I've been talking to online. And so Katrin said, "Well, why don't you start a session? Why don't you put together a networking session? Why don't you put together how to get ready and do all this?" So I was like, all right. So I started putting stuff together, and finally, after a while, and after Katrin saying, "Hey, is your session ready yet? Do you want me to review your session?" I finally put it together, and I submitted it, and I presented it for the first time at SQL Saturday DC in 2018. But my first SQL Saturday event was that DC event in 2017. So I went there and I was like, okay, you know what? I was like, I can definitely present here. I definitely want to put this thing together. So I put it all together and I presented it the next year. So the picture up top is me and Katrin, and now that's Mal. Mal is somebody that I've been following, for a long time. They're very, very tiny. They're both very, very short, and I'm about 6'2". So this was, I was bending down to try and get us all in the picture. It was fun. So let's talk about event types. By the way, the pictures are kind of just to tell the story as we go along. So there are different kinds of event types. Obviously, we're talking in a virtual session right now, so you know about virtual groups, but there are national events. National events are usually, you have to go there and you have to go somewhere unless it's local, unless you're lucky enough for, to live in Seattle or live, somewhere where it's very close. Most national events are very, very big and you do have to travel. So you usually do have to stay over at least one night. They're usually not very often offered very often, they're usually once a year. And some of the examples are like Past Summit, Microsoft Connect, TDWIBI Summit, MS Ignite, a bunch of, the really, really big ones. There's also regional events, which are usually drivable, they're local. They're offered more often, and some of the examples are SQL Saturdays. There are events called Girls Who Code, which are really they're regional events, and they're in major cities, and and it really is it's a wonderful organization. If you're ever interested, take a look at it. Just look up Girls Who Code, and it's a wonderful thing. There's also code camps like Boston Code Camp. I know that there was one in New York City a couple months ago. Things like that. Things that allow you to not only learn something but also again meet up with something. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with this session is that one of the things that I realized at the 2007 event is that I didn't know anybody, and one of the things that I realized about the 2017 event that I went to was that I knew more people and I was getting a lot more out of it than just the technical knowledge. And that's kind of what this is all about. There's also local events which are usually right there. They're usually right in your own backyard, and there's plenty of them. SQL Saturdays, as Glenda said, that was that list that she had up in the beginning of ones in the U.S., Latin America, and Europe. That is a very, very tiny little small subset of what is offered because there's so many that are offered all over the world, and they're offered almost every. I don't know. I won't say every weekend, but dollars to donuts, there's at least one or two happening almost every other weekend or every weekend. The other thing to take advantage of that is local are the local user groups. Some people can't get to them, like the problem with there's a central New Jersey SQL Server user group that meets every Wednesday. I can't go because I teach, I teach at night, but which is why these virtual groups are really great. But the local user groups they're wonderful because they allow you to not only, again, learn some of the technical knowledge, but you get to sit and talk and kind of converse with people who are not only interested in the same things that you are, but they're also right there. And there's also things like Code Camp, which is there's one in Philly. I know there's one in Boston. They're all over the place. And then obviously you guys know everything about the virtual groups. There are every time I look at the virtual group list, it grows. There's another one every single time I look, and it's wonderful because say I want to get into something that is I want to look at DB fundamentals, or I want to look at Power BI, or I want to look at something. They offer them all over. There's so many different ones, and if you don't see one, the great thing about it is that PASS has the support in order to help you to design your own and to come up with one that other people would want to be interested as well. So again, one of the other online things that they offer is 24 hours of PASS. There's the PASS Marathon, which is just session after session after session. It's just there's a lot of really great stuff. So when you're thinking about each event has something different. Virtual groups versus SQL Saturdays versus summits versus this and that versus everything. PASS Summit has a bunch of things that if you're going to go and if you can find a way to do it, whether it's on your own dime, hopefully winning the free pass that Glenda and Steve were talking about, or your company or whatever, Past Summit has so much to offer. And I should have said this in the beginning. I have nothing to do, nor am I connected with in any way to Pass or to SQL Saturday at all. I'm just a member of the community, and this is all volunteer. I just enjoy doing it. Past Summit gave me so much, and I want to introduce, what's there, to everybody. So one of the things that I would definitely suggest that you do if you are going to Summit is something called the First Timer Networking event. If you think about speed dating, it's the same thing, but just on a technical aspect. They break, and when I went, we had, I think there were 250 people there that were at the First Timer Networking event. And what they do is they break you up into groups of about 15 or 20 people, and you just sit around in a big circle, and you just shift one seat, and it's really just, you've got 3 minutes to say, hey, my name is Matt, I work for Applegate Farms, this is what I do. They do this, and then you have 2 minutes to just kind of converse. Hey, have you looked at this? Have you, are you interested in that? Are you going to 2019? Are you doing this? It's just a really great way of exchanging cards and talking to people and getting to know people. And I actually still talk to a bunch of people that I met 2 years ago, and I'm looking forward to seeing them again. I'm going this year as well. The first timer buddy group, I'm sorry, is also a really neat thing. What they do is they take somebody who has been to Summit and they match them up with a bunch of first timers, and they connect you, ahead of time, like right around now. And I know the buddy program is open now, so just go to the Past Summit. If you're going, go to Past Summit and just look for first timer buddy group, because it's nice because they match you up 4 or 5 of people with somebody who's already been there. The person who has experience is able to answer questions. You talk about, hey, what do you think I could get the most out of? Can you help me with my schedule? Just all the questions like, which hotel are you staying in, that kind of thing. It's just a really good resource where you're not always going to, somebody at Pass and maybe waiting for an email or whatever. Not that they're slow, but they're very, very busy. This gives you somebody who's already gone through it and says, yeah, you know what, don't do this, do this. Gives you it shows you the ropes. Every single night, all 5 nights, and again, the Past Summit is 3 days, but there are 2 days of pre-cons as well. All 5 nights, there's karaoke somewhere in the city that's being hosted by one of the sponsors or by one of the vendors. It's just a wonderful opportunity. You go out, have a couple drinks, sing some really bad karaoke, meet some people. It's a good place to meet people and just talk socially, and it's good. I'm actually one of the sponsors of SQL. I'm an organizer of SQL Game Night. Really think board games and drinks. So it's, we bring in a bunch of board games. People bring their own sometimes, and this year it's 2 nights. When I first did it in 2017, it was only one, but they're doing 2 nights this year. And it's a lot of fun. If going out and being in a loud bar is not maybe your thing, and you just want to kind of hang out and have a casual, SQL Game Night is a lot of fun. We had a really rousing game of Settlers of Catan, and it was wonderful. The other thing that Past Summit has is they have in the cafeteria, they have tables. They're called Birds of a Feather. So you have, say, 100 tables. Like 15 of those tables are reserved for Birds of a Feather. There are specific focus groups that are going to be sitting together. So some of them are devoted to technical, like reporting services and Power BI. Some of them are Query Store. There's one last year that they had for all military vets. There's one for an LGBTQ. There's all different things, and there's each year it's different. For the most part, there's always some technical and some social, but it's a good mix of both. This is John and Monica. I had been following John, I didn't realize, since like 2011, and I have been, talking back and forth to Monica, and she and I agreed that we would, kind of meet up. And she's like, "Hey, have you ever met John?" I was like, "Wait a second," and I realized that John and I had been talking on and off, for like almost 8 years or so. So I finally got a chance to meet them, and it was the first time meeting Monica in person. It's nice because you talk online and you kind of joke around, or you swap stories, or you look at technical advice and things like that. It's nice to meet people in person, put a face to a Twitter handle or something like that. SQL Saturdays, there's a lot of them. There are a lot of them. They're all over the world. I would love to go to and present some in Europe, and I'd like to go to Japan. I don't know if I can afford that, but we'll see. SQL Saturdays also gives you an opportunity to talk to vendors. which I think is important. You can talk to vendors and really get an idea of not only necessarily the software that they're selling, but also the services that they're selling. Kind of take them for a test run. Hey, I'm having this problem with this, and this. How would you solve that? Gives you an opportunity to see and talk to a vendor who is a subject matter expert in that particular thing. Like you talk to any of the companies that are there, like Pragmatic Works or or SQL Century One or any of the companies like that. You can talk to them ahead of time and see and make contact and talk to people and be like, all right, you know what, I want to keep talking about this. Can we have a conference call next week? That kind of thing. Plus, they also have really good swag, which is good. They always give out really cool stuff. You can meet people for lunch. A lot of the SQL Saturday events, they have things that are scheduled during lunch so that you can see panels. And they're usually panels where it's a vendor will talk about something, or, women in technology will have a panel, and special focus groups will have panels and things like that. They're really, it's good. Some of the SQL Saturdays do have after events. You go to a bar and you hang out, have some dinner, things like that. Just have some drinks after the event. Talk about the event. Talk about other things. Talk about baseball in my case. Um, as I was going along and taking selfies, I finally got to meet Kevin Klein in person. And I had been following his blog and following him for forever. So this was like almost like meeting Elvis. So for me, this was, a really wonderful opportunity. And he actually was really, forthright. He's like, you're taking a lot of selfies. I'm seeing a lot of selfies. You should put together a session. And he was really he and Ketron were really the catalyst for me putting this thing together. Local user groups, the meet and greet beforehand, a lot of a lot of times it's pizza, which unfortunately I have celiac disease, so I can't eat pizza, which kind of stinks. But it's the networking opportunity. It's the chance to meet people. It's a chance to talk to people. So definitely don't just show up for the technical part. Go and meet people, and it's like you can meet people even if it doesn't have anything to do with what you're looking at technically. You can meet somebody that, hey, you have an interest in the Boston Red Sox, or you like cricket, or, I really like, flying drones or things like that. You can find, a lot of really common stuff. The other thing that you can find is job opportunities. I know at least 4 or 5 people who have gotten job offers by going to local events, by just talking to somebody, and then somebody during the meet and greet and saying, hey, just for everybody's information, there's a SQL DBA position that's opening up in my company. If you're interested, please let me know. Here are my cards, things like that. And they're also nice and close, which makes it easier. This is Arctic DBA. His name is Alexander, and I love his beard. That's the only reason why I took a picture. No, he's a really great guy, and we were talking a lot. Really, really smart dude, and didn't realize, there are so many hidden talents on a lot of these things. He has a really big podcast, and I forget if he's from Finland, Sweden, or Norway. I never remember. But he's got a lot of really awesome content that I've been listening to, since we met. It's really great. Virtual groups, you guys know this, access to things that you not necessarily, you can't get to. There's a larger area of expertise. There's 24 hours of past marathon, things like that. Lots of short bursts of great content. The nice thing about 24 hours of pass is that you can tune in as it's going along. All right, I already know all about that. Let me get some work done, and I'll look at this, and I'll watch this other session. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Ginger. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Ginger, I'm sorry if you're here. I just completely blank. I need to have my notes, obviously. Ginger was somebody I've been following for a while, and again, I got a chance to really to meet these people that I've been talking to for a while, and it was just, she was lovely. So some of the biggest takeaways that I have found from attending these events, it's the opportunity to network. This is the most important thing at these technical conferences. Yes, getting the technical expertise is good. Going to sessions, learning these new things, finding out what's coming in new technologies, that's important. Yes, that is the reason why you're there. But the biggest missed opportunity is the opportunity to network. I was at Summit and we were doing something in SQL Server, and we were using not an archaic way of doing it, but it was working, so we didn't want to mess with it. And somebody made a suggestion. My boss and I sat down with that particular person. We were talking, and my boss said, "Oh, well, we have to go to the next session." I was like, you know what? I was like, I got the recordings. I was like, let's just finish this conversation. And so we did, and we started implementing different stuff back here at work, and it was really good. And as I said, don't lose the opportunity to finish a conversation. A lot of people are focused on going to sessions. If you're in a great conversation and it's solving a problem, or it's you're finally figuring it out, or it's helping something, they're giving you examples and helping you really understand something, don't cut the conversation short. If you have to, make sure that you get a card and that you talk more, and things like that. But you want those opportunities to talk to people, to really get to know, all right, what do you do, who do you work for, things like that. And it gives you virtual colleagues all over the world. you know it, I'll talk more about this in a little bit when I'm talking about Twitter and talking about the forms of communication. But it's, if I have questions, I can ask, in some cases, I can ask people that are on the teams that I'm like, I asked a bunch of people who are engineers on the Power BI team for Microsoft. I asked them directly. I was like, hey, I was looking at this, you know, what did you think about that? That kind of thing. And it gives you people, it's not just the people that are in your office, and it's not just the friends of yours that are kind of doing the same stuff. It's, one of my closest friends is in Rochester, and I only see him once or twice a year. And I met him through these events. So let's talk about how you communicate and the communication channels that I particularly use. So I'm big on Twitter. um, and I've been using it as a development tool since 2011. And I was actually brought into my HR department because everybody saw me on Twitter. Why are you always on Twitter? You're always on Twitter. You're always talking on Twitter. You're always wasting your time on Twitter. I wasn't wasting my time. What I was doing is I was posting questions using tags. And in this case, is a tag that's just, pound SQL help. Hey, I'm having a problem, trying to optimize this particular query. And then I just tag SQL help. And I showed my boss. And so it was really kind of funny. And he's just like, well, that's going to take forever for everybody to get back to you. I was just like, can I show you something? And I just posted a question. I said, put the tag there. And I was like, I'm trying to prove to my boss that this is a good development tool. Can somebody please respond? Just either retweet or just respond to this message. And I had 10 messages within the first like 5 or 10 seconds. And one of them said, hey, follow me, send me a direct message, and I'll give you my number. And if you have a question or if he wants to talk about it, I manage a team of 15 developers and things like that. And it was kind of cool. So I use it as a development tool. Yeah, I mean, sure, we post pictures of cats, and everybody tells a joke here and there, and sometimes there are posts that are not technical, but it really, for me, it has become almost as important as Visual Studio and SQL Management Studio. It is used as a social networking tool, but not trying to get more followers or promote my book, or which I haven't written, promote a book or sell anything. It's really trying to find people who are like-minded, find people who are interested in Power BI or Azure or things like that. And that's how I use it as a networking tool. And it allows you to find answers, and it allows you to find friends. Like I said, I've met a lot of people over the years, in my travels, who have become really, really close friends. One of the perfect examples is a concept called SQL Family. SQL Family is really it's a development community that kind of came together on Twitter, and it's just people who are interested in helping other people who are SQL Server developers, whether they're DBAs, BI, whatever. It's really just become this really supportive and wonderful community. um, that is Angela Tidwell's picture. She couldn't go that year, so her husband Lance brought Flat Angela, and everybody was taking pictures with Flat Angela. So that was fun. So perfect examples of what I was talking about with SQL Family. I follow Chris Yates. He's actually on the board for PASS. He's a wonderful human being, and he always has really inspirational stuff. So it's like I always check his feed first just to see what he has to say, because he's always got something to say first thing in the morning. Ginger and John, what I had done was I had posted something to the effect of, I'm about to go in and do my first SQL presentation. Please wish me luck. I'm really nervous, yada, yada, yada. 2 seconds later, I got these two responses, and there's probably about 10 or 15 more. It's really just people who are encouraging, helpful, supportive. They're absolutely wonderful. what I use is this is just a screenshot of TweetDeck. TweetDeck is what I use to do Twitter. So you've got columns or lanes, depending on how you want to look at it. So the first lane is just those tweets that people I'm following are sending in. The second column is mentions of me or retweets that I've, of posts that I've put in. Direct third is the direct messages. I like to have a search column, so I look for anything that has SQL family in it so that I can respond to it or look at it. And then there's also a trending app. And then six, there's the thing over on the side. There's all different kinds of lists that you can set up so you can have things for, you can put together a list of 5 of the top SQL developers, or I have a list on mine that's posting things that are people I know that are going to Summit. So it's like, okay, when I start posting, a lot of times the first lane will go flying by, and it's sometimes it gets a little busy over there. So I kind of like to focus on a couple people as I get closer to Summit. But this being said, this is really, like I said, this is where I've always got a TweetDeck browser open. Always, it's always open. I'm always asking questions, and one of the things that I always try to do is that as I learn something, I try to have a search column that has SQL help or SSIS help or Power BI help, and I try to answer those questions, or at least do some lookup and maybe send them, some suggestions of posts that I found, that kind of thing. Slack is something that I've just started using recently, and I like it because it allows, there isn't a character limit, and it's more of a chat session. Each channel is split into communities, and the channels are within the community. So I belong to a community called SQL Server Community, and then within that community there are Past Summit, there's SQL Saturday, there's Power BI, there's PowerShell, there's SSIS, there's all these different channels that are specific to, each channel has a specific interest. I like to spend at least a little bit of time every week in the Slack channel trying to answer questions, because I feel like I learn something more when I'm trying to explain it or trying to show somebody else how to do it. There's new ideas, possible solutions, knowledge from other. I mean, it's nice because it allows you to have a conversation without it being, broadcast over the internet. Yeah, it's in a Slack channel, so anybody who's part of that channel can see it, but it's a little bit more contained, and you can see and you can keep threads, and it's a little bit easier to navigate. I like it. You can also have file sharing, and then, like I said, I'm just getting started, but there are so many uses that we're finding. Our parent company actually uses Slack, so it was a nice, easy transition to use that as well for communication with our parent company, so that we didn't have to keep going over email and doing all that other good stuff. So this is what Slack looks like. You've got all the messages that are coming down. You've got channels over on the right. Everything's broken up into channels. So like you can see, maybe a little small, but you've got SQL Saturday as a channel, SQL Server PHP, SQL Synthesis, SQL San Diego, SQL Server App. You've got all these different channels. And if you just go up there and you just start typing in the search bar, it'll give you something that, things that are there. You no longer have to change this because you no longer have to be invited to the SQL Server community, at least. Some of them you do. So if you go and it asks you for an invite, what it'll do is you'll sign up for it, and then it'll send a message to whoever's the organizer, and they'll give you access or not. The nice thing about it is you can also have direct messages or direct conversations with other members that are in that particular channel or in different channels or on that, just in the community itself. I like it. It's good. The other ways of communication are blogging. A lot of people blog, and I started blogging. My blogs tend to be a little bit more personal, but one of the things that I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to put out at least one technical thing per week, or I'm trying to do at least 2 or 3 per month where it's something that I have no idea about. So I just started blogging about Azure. I just started blogging about Data Factory and a whole bunch of different tools. I just started doing it, but it allows you to write about what you know. It also allowed, like for me, and with Azure, I don't know anything about Azure. So it's allowing me to kind of put together my thoughts, and it's like, all right, here are the things that I've found, and I've started to get comments on my posts, and it's nice because people will either suggest content or they'll be like, hey, you may have, a little bit of a misunderstanding on this particular thing. Why don't you look at it this way? And it's been really nice, and I've been able to go in and change the content and put in an edit and give them a little credit. Hey, you know, Shane came in and told me about this, or Glenda told me about this, so I'm going to put them, give them their just due. Like I said, I'm writing a Getting Started series. I'm actually writing two of them. I'm writing Getting Started in Azure, and I'm writing a now that you've gotten a little bit into Power BI, what do you do now? Kind of series. What are the next steps? That kind of thing. It also allows you to establish your brand. Who are you? You know, do people know who SQL Kohi is? Do people even know what that is? That kind of thing. It allows you to establish yourself as, somebody in the community. It allows you to establish, a lot of interesting stuff. LinkedIn, there's, opportunities for people. There's different groups and things like that. You can share your blog post. Whenever I post something in my blog, I always share it on LinkedIn because I use WordPress and there's a plugin. There's groups and communities that are there. One of the things that I will suggest is, don't just send a connection to somebody trying to connect with them if you don't know them. Like I have a lot of in the beginning, I had a lot of people just sending me connections, and I recognize them because I'm good. I have good facial recognition, so I remember them from my SQL Saturday sessions or whatever. But most of the time, if I get a connection from somebody and I don't recognize the name, I'm automatically going to think recruiter. So just say, hey, I attended your session, or hey, I read your blog post. I wanted to connect and I wanted to ask you some questions, that kind of thing. So let's talk about before the event. So you've registered for the event. Now what are you going to do? Think about what you want to get out of the event. How much do you know about the event? Do you know anybody that's going or has been to that particular event? Look at the schedule of the event and see what's offered, and have a loose schedule coming into the event. Really important. Try not to show up and make decisions when you get there, because planning things at an event is really important. You want to make sure that you have an idea of where you're going, but you also want to have a few alternatives, because there have been plenty of sessions that I've gone to where it's just like the description is good, but it's like, wait a second, this isn't really what I was thinking it was. What do I do now? Do I sit for an hour when I could be in this other session that it looked like something that I wanted to do? Having an alternate will allow you to kind of go around. And as a speaker, if you go to a session and it's not working for you and you leave, it's not something that we take personally. We understand. Think of problem spots that you have at work, and maybe, some of the sessions that you can go to that'll solve that. Print out the speed pass. And this is really a SQL Saturday thing, but print out the speed pass. And the reason why I say that is because at SQL Saturdays, the longest holdup at a SQL Saturday event is not the registration table. It's waiting for the scissors so that you can cut up the little coupons that you get as your speed pass, so that you can give to vendors and maybe win stuff and stuff like that, and your lunch pass and things like that. Some of them are really great and they cut it up for you. Some of them don't. And then again, either bring your own scissors or print out your speed pass and cut it up. This is Alan. I really liked taking the picture with Alan because at that point I had been taking pictures with really, really short people, and he's about 2 inches taller than I am. And he was really, really supportive as well. And I was telling him about the session I was thinking of, and he's like, yeah, you should definitely do that. And make sure you put all these pictures in there too. So Alan, your picture is in here. So before the event, share the fact that you're going. Go on Twitter, go on Facebook, go on LinkedIn. I don't do a lot professionally on Facebook, but there are some professional groups that are on Facebook that you can go to. And just say, hey, I'm going to this particular event. Hey, I'm going to the virtual group where Matt Cushing is presenting Networking 101, blah, 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 blah. It allows you to kind of broadcast out there and see who else is going. Announce it on the Slack channel. It reminds people, and it lets people know, like, somebody may have been wanting to go to the event, it may have slipped their mind. You post something on Twitter or somewhere where they see it. Oh, wow, I got to sign up for that event. So they go in and they sign up for the event. Hey, so-and-so, why don't we go together, or why don't we meet for lunch, or why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? If you want to meet a speaker, it gives you, plan for it. So, email the speaker, just, hey, I'd like to talk to you for a couple minutes afterwards, or maybe before. Talk to them and see, because I've planned on talking to a speaker, and then I go up to talk to them afterwards, or I go up to talk to them before, and they're having to run right out the door because maybe they have to go or whatever. So it allows them to to look at their schedule and make sure that they can meet. For me, I can't eat gluten because I have to be gluten free, so I have dietary restrictions. So you have to make sure you can eat. I mean, some of these events are pretty long. So if you go all day long and you don't have anything to eat, it's it's not going to be a good thing. So finding out ahead of time, hey, do you have anything that's gluten free? Or looking around the event and seeing if there's anywhere where I can go. The nice thing about Summit, they have vegetarian, they have vegan, they have gluten free, they have everything. It's wonderful. Get your business cards. Even if you have to kind of go and do the Vistaprint, $10 for 200 cards or whatever, print out and just make sure that your information is on there. Get business cards because you'd be really interested to see how many you give out, and set up meetings. Hey, let's meet for lunch. Hey, let's sit down here. Hey, I'll meet you at this particular corner or this particular table or whatever. Once you get to during the event, uh, just a caveat for this picture, it was Halloween. Okay, and that's Lance and SQL Flip Flops, who is a really great guy, and that is not his natural hair. So during the event, attend the sessions. That's kind of a given. Talk to people, just obviously not during the session. Talk to people while you're, walking to and from sessions. Talk to people during lunch. Talk to vendors. Talk to, people who are just like standing there, or they have a cool shirt or whatever, that kind of thing. If you have a chance and you go to one of the SQL Saturdays, definitely take in Ray Kim's networking 101 session. His event is more, how do you communicate? How do you talk to people? It's definitely a good precursor to this one. Bring your business cards and pass them out. Definitely pass them out and get cards from people and speakers. And this is really kind of an important part. Make sure that you write in the information, because how many people have gone through a bag or gone through their briefcase or gone through their purse or gone through whatever and found a card and said, where did I get this? I have no idea who this person is. I always write down, on when somebody gives me a card, I always grab a pen after we're done with the conversation and I'll put down the name of the event, like SQL Server, past Summit 2017 or whatever, that kind of thing. Or what were we talking about, that kind of thing. Talk to the vendors. The vendors have swag. They have some really cool stuff. 2 years ago at 2017, it was all about fidget spinners, and I got some really cool ones. I think my favorite is probably the one I got from Pragmatic Works, because it's the one that spins the longest and it keeps me occupied. They have expertise that you can talk about, possible solutions, problems, opportunities. It gives you a chance to talk to them, gives you a chance to kind of take it for a little bit of a trial run, see if they really know what they're talking about. They're, in a lot of cases, they get technologies before they're released to the general public, so they are experts and they're testing the application. They're looking at all this stuff. Go to lunch and meet people for lunch. It gives you a chance to meet others. And this is what I always try to do. If you see somebody that's sitting by themselves, sit down and introduce yourself, especially at like big conferences. I like doing this, and it's like you can, just make sure they see you're coming, so you don't scare them. But sit down and introduce yourself. Hey, my name's Matt. What do you do? How did you get to, and just start talking to them, because I was that person, in 2007. I was sitting down because I didn't know who to sit with. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, how to talk to anybody. So just sit down and introduce yourself, and just, maybe make them make them feel comfortable. And again, like we talked about before, the birds of a feather table, the special interest tables at Summit. Whoa. Talk to the speakers. All of us started as attendees. Even Kevin Klein, who I still think is, one of the coolest people on the planet. He started off as an attendee and decided, you know what, I want to start speaking. I want to start talking about technical and non-technical events. He's got a lot of different things that he talks about. We love questions. Ask us questions. Maybe not in the middle of us making a point, maybe towards the end, but definitely ask questions, because it helps us to refine our, our stuff. Grab a card. Whenever I start, I always put my cards out, and just grab a card if you can't stay and talk, and email them later. Because if you have a question, I can guarantee you they'd be, really happy to answer any question that you have. The feedback surveys are really important. Please fill them out. It's really the only way for not only the speakers to improve, but also the organizers of the event. So if something went right, if something went wrong, everybody wants to hear that in equal measure. And again, it's the only way that I can make this session, a little bit better. Everybody comes at it from a different point of view, so you may see something. I mean, somebody suggested that, I gear this session a little bit more towards people who are trying to change from, maybe an analysis position to a technical position, or the other way around, that kind of thing. How can you use this thing? And as I said, it helps both speakers and organizers. Excuse me. After the event, sit down. Most events will usually give you a notebook or some kind of writing material to take notes in. Write down your notes and your thoughts because they're fresh in your head. Go online and brag about the swag. There's nothing a vendor likes better than seeing their stuff, seeing their logo, seeing it, somewhere else, on somebody else's feed. And it gives you a great opportunity to take what you just learned and blog about it. That's what I did. That's what I started doing. I was like, wow, I learned a lot of networking stuff. So I started posting all the pictures. I started posting a lot of the things that I had, a lot of things that I had observed. And it's not just external. I shared it. I do the session at Applegate. I do this session usually once a quarter for our salespeople and for our marketing people, and who, we have people that travel all over the country and they do, presentations and they do, events and things like that. And this, kind of gives them a little bit of insight. Reach out to the people that you connected with. All those cards that you have in your bag, pull them all out and shoot them an email. Hey, it was really great meeting you. If you ever have a chance, we'd like to talk about X, Y, and Z, that kind of thing, before you lose the business card. And think about how you can help. One of the things that is about that is important about Pass is that there's a lot of volunteerism. There's a lot of opportunities to volunteer. You can help out with the event, you can help with setup, you can help with takedown, you can help with organizing, you can help, by becoming a speaker. Just think about how you can help and how to get involved, because it's a wonderful organization. It really is. I am blessed in how much I have really gained from this community, and I don't feel like I have, paid back even a quarter of what I need to. If you're thinking about it, speak at the next event, put together a session, submit it for a local group, or a SQL Saturday, or even Pass. I submitted this to Pass. It didn't, thinking about it afterwards, it didn't really make sense. I don't, because it's like you're already at the event, so it's a little late. But it really just said to me, you know what, you need another topic. If you're thinking about speaking, speak. If you're nervous about speaking, speak. It's a really great opportunity for you to overcome maybe a fear of speaking in front of people, or it allows you to practice. So you start small. You're making connections, you're sharing knowledge with back and forth with people that are at these events, and for me, this is my way of paying it forward. It allows me to help other people. I met with a guy at one of the events, and he actually worked for my direct competitor at the time. And we started talking, and we realized, I'm like, wait a second, you work for company X? And he's like, yeah, you work for company Y. I was like, all right. I was just like, I don't want to get you in trouble. He's like, you know what? He's like, the way that I look at it, he's like, competition is good, but cooperation is better, because both of us were having the same problem. And we started talking, and I had part of a solution, he had part of a solution. By the time we were done with the conversation, several weeks later, and a couple emails later, and talking over Twitter and things like that, we solved it for both companies. So it really is, you know, sharing knowledge it'll make you feel good. I'm telling you. And more importantly, it allows you to learn from other people. How do you, learn how to learn? Because some people are visual, some people are, auditory, things like that. It just, people learn different ways, and it allows you to kind of broaden your knowledge. So I've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to go through this. So what did we go over? We talked about what to do before. Communicate, get out there, tell people that you're going, make, appointments to meet for lunch, or maybe meet before or whatever. During the event, go to your sessions. Absolutely have alternative sessions to go to. Make sure that you do have a schedule, but you also have other opportunities, just in case something doesn't turn out, or a speaker doesn't show up. That's one of the things that happened to me. A speaker got grounded because it was snowing in DC, and so flights got canceled after a certain point, and he couldn't get in for his session. So one of the other speakers came in, and it was something that I had no idea what it was, and it didn't really pertain to my job. And what to do after. You've got events that happen afterwards. Sometimes they go for drinks. Write down your notes. Look at all your business cards. Email the people that you met. Email the speakers that you talk to. Send them a question, or even just say, hey, your session was absolutely instrumental for me, because I saw a session at Summit where the guy was like, here's how you put together your session. Here's how you submit. Here's how you do. And it was instrumental for me finally submitting my first session. So I sent him an email, and he was, delighted. And we also talked about the different channels of communication. My favorites are definitely Twitter and Slack. I like to blog, and there is, definitely some stuff that you can do on LinkedIn. There's stuff on Facebook. You can do that. So now what? I can't give you any of my cards, but I'll give you my information. So if you have a question or if you want, you can email me. Follow me on Twitter. This isn't a hey, I want more followers. This is, hey, follow me and look at the people that I'm following because I'm following some really, really amazing people. Shoot me an email. You don't necessarily have to for the SQL community. Just look up Slack SQL Server Community and you can get in on that one. Start your own blog. If you don't have one, start one. If you have a blog and you haven't blogged in a while, put together a post and start scheduling things. That's what I do is I usually schedule a couple and schedule them to come out at certain periods of time. Search for the help to all the hashtags on Twitter and start trying to help in SQL help or Power BI or whatever, that kind of thing. Go to pass.org and look at how much is there because there's so much stuff there. That's it. This is my contact information. Again, if you have any questions or you have any suggestions, please feel free to email me. Feel free to, follow me on Twitter. There's my blog and my LinkedIn information. So, if you do send me something on LinkedIn, please just shoot me a note and just say, hey, I was at your virtual group session, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Woohoo. There is one thing that I think I will add, if you don't mind, and I was going to mention it
Sure.
in feedback, but I thought, I might as well just say it. One of the things, I read a book one time about small talk and networking, and one of the things that has always stuck with me and that I've actually done a couple of times when I'm face to face with people, I get a bit nervous about what am I going to say, things like that.
Hmm.
And it suggested that you actually, before you go to the event, you write down some topics that you feel comfortable talking about.
Yep.
Sometimes it's, it just jogs your memory. Sometimes you're actually, oh yeah, whatever. And doing that beforehand, when I actually met someone and I didn't know what to say, it
Hmm.
gave me something to talk about.
Yeah.
So, it was a neat little way of just popping this information in my head specifically for those moments when you're like, I don't know if I want to sit next to that person who's sitting all alone because I don't know what I would say. So
Sure.
prepping that
Oh, sure.
beforehand, oh, it was so great. So
No, it's a really good. That's a good idea. I'll definitely include that. Thank you.
perfect. There were several times during that whole presentation I was like, yes, yes.
Good.
It was
Good.
wonderful. Thank you so so much. And
Oh,
from
you're very,
someone
very
who
welcome.
has been to events and such, again, I was following along, going, yes, I've done that. Yes, I've done that. Oh yeah, and it was meeting Elvis and all that. Yeah, it was really great. So I
Good.
hope you guys all got something out of it. Let's see. I do have a question for you. Are you from New Jersey? What course did you teach that's useful for SQL and database professionals?
The class that I teach at Rutgers is called Database Fundamentals. It's interesting because it's not part of the computer science department. It's part of a department. The major is called ITI, which is Information Technology and Informatics. So that major is a little bit of everything. So it's a little bit of database, it's a little bit of front end, it's a little bit of back end, it's a little bit of network, it's a little bit of security, and it's been a lot of. That's the only class that I teach over there, but it's been a really it's eye opening because I learn something every single semester, you know. But I do know that there is that Rutgers has they have certification tracks, so you can get a bachelor's or a master's, but you also have they're called short patterns, and it's they have different classes that you take, and you can get a certificate. So you take a database, you take like a couple of classes instead of paying for the whole major and doing the whole thing. You do, I want to say it's like 15 to 18 months, I think. But you can get a certificate, and you take a lot of the core classes that the people in the major take.
Awesome. Another question about contact. Your contact information is right here. And I will also let you know, I actually contacted him out of the blue. I know I had seen his name before somewhere, but I'm like, hey, you want to speak for us? And so he does check email, Twitter, things like that. I looked at his blog. Of course, I, do some homework on the people I want to speak for you guys. So he does follow up with you guys. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah, and if you are interested on getting connected in LinkedIn, just again, if you send me an invite, just say, hey, I was at your virtual group. I had a question or two. Would you mind, and we'll connect, and I would be happy to answer the questions. It's
Perfect.
probably it's probably easier for me to answer via email. So if you want to send me an email, that's a little bit easier because then I can, then it's not like I'm sitting on LinkedIn, just kind of chatting with somebody. So email is definitely the preferred method. But yeah, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, absolutely, it's my pleasure.
All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and close the broadcast. Before I do, make sure you're watching your emails because, again, one of the attendees from today and a last session is going to get free a free entrance to the past summit. So that doesn't take care of the travel and hotel and all that, but it does take care of summit, which is a big chunk of the cost. So
Am I on that list?
yes. Thank you again, Matt. If you guys have any
My pleasure.
questions, yeah, that you haven't typed in the questions, you can go ahead and just let me know. Yes, I'm okay with passing on your email address, and I'll do so. Otherwise, you have his contact information. And remember, you can get to this and all of our other content on YouTube. I believe it's youtube.com/user/SQL Pass TV. That's SQL PASS TV. And that way you'll see this session within a day or two at the most, and you can check it out and pick up your little tidbits that you missed during, or that you wanted to recap on.
And Glenda, what I'll do is I'll send you the slide deck when we get off.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right, everybody have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Take care.